More than 7,000 families came to enjoy the greatest show on earth. But within 10 minutes, America's biggest circus became a death trap. Just minutes earlier, everyone had been smiling. Ringling Bros wasn't just another circus. It was the biggest entertainment show in America. Nearly every seat was filled. Then, someone noticed something nobody expected. Fire. People rushed to quench the fire. At first, they thought it would be put out within seconds. They had no idea the tent itself had already become fuel. The waterproof coating wasn't really waterproof. It was made from gasoline, paraffin wax, and chemicals. The moment the fire touched it, the entire roof exploded into flames. Was it that they didn't know such could happen? Panic spread faster than the fire itself. Everyone ran as fast as possible for safety. In less than 60 seconds, a tiny flame, no bigger than a cigarette, became a wall of fire racing across the ceiling. The paraffin and gasoline coating didn't just burn, it exploded. Burning liquid rained down on the crowd below, and the temperature inside the big top jumped hundreds of degrees in an instant. People who were laughing seconds earlier were now fighting to breathe. The circus band did exactly what they were trained to do. They kept playing. In the circus world, the music never stops during an emergency because silence causes panic. But on July 6th, the music couldn't compete with the roar of the fire. The drums were drowned out by screams, and for the first time in Ringling history, the band finally stopped and ran. Then the roof began to collapse. Not slowly, in massive, burning sheets. The giant canvas, weighing thousands of pounds when dry, was now soaked with flaming wax. It fell onto the bleachers like a net of fire. Brave onlookers tried to lift it with their bare hands, but were quickly overcome by the heat. Families were tragically separated, in the dark, blocked completely by the advancing flames. The exits, which looked fine on a normal day, became completely blocked. Ringling had set up heavy steel animal chutes across several doors for the performing animals, trapping crowds behind them. In the black smoke, people couldn't find the openings. At the main exits, thousands pushed at once, and those who fell were overwhelmed by the crowd. The only way out for many was to slice an escape path right through the canvas walls. In that smoke, parents had to make choices no parent should ever face. Eyewitnesses saw fathers lift their daughters over 10-foot barriers and pass them safely into the arms of strangers outside, hoping someone would catch them. Mothers covered 2 children with their own bodies as burning wax fell. Some families held hands and were pulled apart by the crowd, never to find each other again. Not everyone ran. While the audience fled, the performers ran toward the fire. Clowns, still in full makeup and big shoes, carried armfuls of children out. Trapeze artists used their strength to lift collapsed bleachers. Even the elephant handlers put everything on the line, not to save themselves, but to lead the animals away from the exits, so they wouldn't panic and block the fleeing crowd. Those acts saved hundreds. 10 minutes after the first spark, it was over. The big top, which had taken an army of men a full day to raise, was nothing but smoking steel poles sticking out of the ground. Where there had been music and laughter, there was now only the sound of sirens, crying, and the hiss of water on hot metal. The greatest show on earth had vanished. By nightfall, Hartford's armory had become a resting place. 168, those lost were laid resting on cots, and because so many were children, nurses placed toys beside them, hoping a parent might recognize them. More than 700 people filled every hospital in the city with burns, broken bones, and breathing complications. It was the worst, most devastating Connecticut had ever seen. Among those who lost their life was a little girl no one could name. She was about 8 years old, blonde, wearing a white dress. She hadn't burned badly, but she had succumbed to the surge of the crowd. The medical examiner gave her a number instead of a name, 1565. Her photograph was printed in newspapers across America with a simple plea: "Do you know this child?" For weeks, no one answered. She became famous as Little Miss 1565, the face of the tragedy. Years turned into decades, and still no family claimed her. Police officers kept her photos on their desks. It wasn't until 1991, 47 years later, that a Hartford fire investigator finally matched her to a missing child report. Her real name was Eleanor Cook. She had come to the circus that day with her mother, and she lost her life just feet from an exit. The question everyone asked was simple: who started it? Investigators found no single answer. Some blamed a careless cigarette tossed in the dry grass outside. Others pointed to a faulty electrical wire. Years later, A drifter named Robert Segi confessed to setting the fire for attention, but his story changed every time he told it, and most historians today believe the truth died in that tent. What was not a mystery was the fuel. Chemists tested the canvas and found it was coated with 1,800 pounds of paraffin wax, dissolved in 6,000 gallons of gasoline. It was a common waterproofing trick in the 1940s. Ringling had essentially built a tent out of a giant candle. When the fire hit it, the entire roof became a flamethrower pointed straight down at the audience. The lawsuits nearly bankrupted Ringling Brothers. They paid out nearly $4 million to families, a fortune, in 1944. 4 circus officials were convicted of involuntary manslaughter. But the real punishment wasn't money or prison. It was that, for the rest of their lives, they had to live with knowing that a shortcut to keep rain out had kept children in. Because of Hartford, America rewrote its safety laws. Congress banned flammable tent coatings nationwide. Every big top was required to be made of fire-resistant material, to have wide, clearly marked exits that could never be blocked, and to pass fire inspections before a single ticket was sold. Those rules didn't just save circuses, they saved stadiums, theaters, and schools. Today, when you go to a concert and see that glowing green exit sign above the door, or when a fire alarm test clears a building in minutes, that's Hartford's legacy. 168 people, most of them children, were lost in under 10 minutes so that millions after them could get out alive. Their tragedy wrote the safety manual the entire country still uses. On July 6, 1944, families in Hartford walked into a tent expecting elephants, clowns, and cotton candy. They walked out carrying memories that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. The Ringling Brothers. Circus would continue for decades, but its iconic title, The Greatest Show on Earth, would forever carry a solemn weight reminding generations of the afternoon known as the day the clowns cried.